Stop outsourcing your inner compass. You've been lied to, told that the answers live somewhere out there in a book, a sermon, a guru's latest course, a motivational quote stitched on a pillow, told that you need saving, guidance, permission, validation from someone who supposedly knows better than you do. And if you're a Black woman who spent decades leading teams, raising children, holding down households, carrying entire communities on your back, you know, you've probably believed that lie longer than most because survival mode doesn't leave much room for trusting yourself. It teaches you to look outward, to perform, to prove, to please. But here's the disruptive truth that Tamara Sidney is bringing to the table, and it's the truth I had the honor of unpacking in our recent conversation with her. Tamara Sidney is doing revolutionary work in personal empowerment, specifically with Black professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs who are tired of handing their power over to external systems that were never built to serve them in the first place. She's flipping the script on dependency, on the savior industrial complex, on the idea that you need anyone's permission to trust what you already know. And in a world that profits off your disconnection from yourself, that work is nothing short of sacred rebellion. Her impact is global, her message is timely, and her commitment to helping people reclaim their internal intelligence is transforming lives every single day. The answers you're desperately seeking are already inside you. You've just never been taught how to read your own signals clearly. And that's not an accident, it's by design. Tamara laid it out with the kind of clarity that cuts through decades of conditioning. She said the core argument is simple but revolutionary. The answers you're seeking are already inside you. You've just not been taught to interpret your own signals clearly. External systems often train dependency, quieting that inner voice. I flip the script by teaching people to read their own signals directly. No more handing over your power. No more handing over your power. Let that sit for a second. Because if you're listening to this right now, chances are you've spent years, maybe decades, doing exactly that, handing it over to the church that told you to be humble and wait, to the corporate ladder that told you to work twice as hard for half the recognition, to the self help industry that told you to buy another course, read another book, attend another retreat, to the family members who told you to keep the peace, keep quiet, keep going. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that you were born with an internal intelligence system more sophisticated than any external authority could ever replicate. Tomorrow's work is about helping you remember. And for those of us navigating this sacred pause, this shift from grinding to grounding, this message hits different. Because softness isn't about being passive. It's about being so deeply connected to your own inner knowing that you no longer need external validation to move. It's about releasing the cape, the hustle, the performance, and coming home to the quiet, steady voice that's been whispering the truth all along. So let's get practical because Tamara didn't just give us philosophy. She gave us three actionable lessons that Black professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs can implement immediately. Three lessons that will shift the way you move through the world starting today. Lesson one, trust your internal signals over external noise. Next time you're at a crossroads in your business or your life, pause. Don't immediately reach for your phone to text your mentor, your coach, your best friend. Don't open another tab to search for the answer. Instead, journal the first gut feeling that hits. Write it down without editing, without second guessing, without consulting anyone. That's your inner intelligence speaking. And it's been drowned out for too long. You know more than you think you know. You feel more than you've been allowed to honor. Start there. Lesson two, practice signal reading daily. Spend 5 minutes each morning tuning into your body's cues. Notice where you feel tension. Notice where you feel ease. Notice where energy flows and where it stalls. This isn't abstract. This is Data, your body is constantly sending you information about what's aligned and what's not. But you've been trained to override it in favor of logic, obligation, and other people's expectations. Building self reliance is like building a muscle. You have to practice it daily. You have to show up for yourself the way you've been showing up for everyone else. Lesson three, reject savior narratives. Identify one authority figure or system you've leaned on too heavily. Maybe it's a coach. Maybe it's a religious leader. Maybe it's a framework you've been following for years. Now test a choice based solely on your inner intelligence, not to disrespect those sources, but to reclaim your power, to prove to yourself that you can trust you. Because the moment you stop up waiting for someone else to give you permission, you step into a level of freedom most people never experience. These aren't just tips, they're acts of defiance against a system that profits off your self doubt. And the impact? It's measurable. Tamar pointed to research rooted in self efficacy studies, work that builds on foundational psychology but has been adapted specifically within Black psychology research. The data shows that when marginalized groups, particularly Black women, reconnect with their internal intelligence and build self trust, resilience increases by 30 to 50%. 30 to 50%. That's not a small shift. That's the difference between surviving and thriving. That's the difference between burnout and breakthrough. That's the difference between living in reaction and living in alignment. Imagine what happens when more Black leaders and entrepreneurs adopt this approach. Tamara painted the picture clearly. Organizations would innovate faster because they wouldn't be waiting for expert approval from systems that were never designed to understand their lived experience. Black led firms would make bold pivots based on founders' clear inner reads, cutting dependency on structures that have historically gatekept access, resources, and validation. Individuals would shatter imposter syndrome, leading to explosive rates of entrepreneurship. Communities would experience less burnout from chasing external saviors and more collective power through self trusting networks. This is what happens when we stop outsourcing our inner compass. But let's be honest, this work is though is hard because you've been conditioned for generations to distrust yourself, to believe that your instincts are unreliable, to think that your gut feelings are just emotions that need to be managed, controlled, or ignored. And if you're a Black woman, that conditioning runs even deeper because the world has spent centuries telling you that you're too much and not enough at the same time. Too loud, too emotional, too aggressive, but also not credible enough, not educated enough, not polished enough to be trusted. So you learn to perform, to code switch, to seek validation from external sources because internal validation felt too risky, too uncertain, too vulnerable. But here's what Tamara is saying, and here's what I'm echoing in this space: that vulnerability is not weakness, it's the gateway to your power. When you stop performing for external approval and start listening to your internal signals, you reclaim the energy you've been hemorrhaging for years. You stop living in reaction mode and start living in alignment. You stop waiting for permission and start giving it to yourself. You stop asking if you're allowed and start declaring that you already are. And that's the kind of shift that changes everything. Because this kind of reclamation isn't about being gentle with the world, it's about being gentle with yourself. It's about creating enough internal safety that you can finally hear the voice you've been ignoring. It's about building enough self trust that you don't need a guru, a coach, a pastor, or a best selling author to tell you what you already know. It's about remembering that the wisdom you seek has always been within you, waiting for you to come home. Tamara's challenge at the end of our conversation was simple but profound. She said, tonight before bed, ask yourself, What signal have I ignored today? Write it down, act on it tomorrow. No external input. That's your challenge to own your intelligence. What signal have you ignored today? Maybe it was the tightness in your chest when you said yes to something you wanted to say no to. Maybe it was the flutter of excitement when an idea popped into your head, but you dismissed it because it didn't fit the plan. Maybe it was the exhaustion you felt after spending an hour on the phone with someone who drains you, but you stayed on the line anyway because you didn't want to seem rude. Maybe it was the quiet whisper that said, "This isn't for you anymore," but you pushed it down because leaving felt too scary. Those are signals and they matter. Your body is not lying to you, your intuition is not leading you astray. Your inner intelligence is not broken. It's been buried under years of conditioning, but it's still there and it's still speaking. The question is, are you ready to listen? Because here's what I know: when you start trusting your internal signals, everything shifts. Your relationships get healthier because you stop tolerating what doesn't serve you. Your business gets stronger because you stop second guessing your instincts. Your peace gets deeper because you stop seeking validation from sources that were never meant to understand you. Your joy becomes accessible because you're no longer performing for applause. You're living for alignment. And you stop living in survival mode. You start living in reverence, reverence for the wisdom you carry, reverence for the resilience you've built, reverence for the intelligence that's been guiding you all along, even when you didn't realize it, reverence for the voice inside you that has never stopped whispering the truth, even when the world was screaming lies. So here's my challenge to you: not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Stop outsourcing your inner compass. Stop handing your power over to people, systems, and structures that don't know you the way you know you. Start practicing signal reading like your life depends on it, because honestly, your peace does. Your purpose does. Your freedom does. Trust your gut. Trust your body. Trust the quiet, knowing that rises up when you give yourself permission to be still. Trust that the answers you've been searching for in books, in courses, in other people's opinions are already encoded in your bones. Trust that you were designed with an internal navigation system that no external authority can replicate, no matter how credentialed, how charismatic, how convincing. And if you need a reminder, let Tamara Sidney's words echo in your spirit. The answers you're seeking are already inside you. You don't need saving, you need remembering. Remember who you are. Remember what you know. Remember that you were born with an internal intelligence system that has carried you through every storm, every heartbreak, every impossible moment. Remember that your instincts have never failed you, even when you failed to listen to them. Remember that the voice inside you is not confusion, it's clarity, it's not fear, it's wisdom, it's not weakness, it's power waiting to be claimed. And then act on it without apology, without explanation, without waiting for permission, without needing someone else to co sign your truth. Because this isn't about being rebellious for the sake of rebellion. This is about being free. This is about reclaiming the authority over your own life that was stolen from you the moment someone told you that you couldn't trust yourself. This is about dismantling every lie that said you needed fixing, saving, guiding, or validating by someone outside of you. This is about coming home to yourself and staying there. That's the revolution. That's the reclamation. That's the signal. Now tune in